The morning was cruel in the way only big cities can be, loud with horns, heavy with rushing footsteps, and completely indifferent to quiet suffering. People moved like shadows chasing schedules, never looking down, never slowing enough to notice the small boy standing near a bakery trash bin with trembling hands and empty eyes. Hunger has a soundless scream, and that scream lived inside the thin chest of a boy named Daniel Carter, who had learned far too early that survival often depended on asking for what others had already thrown away. Across the street, surrounded by glass buildings and power, a man in a tailored suit walked briskly, unaware that a single moment would soon divide his life into before and after. Before we go deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your small action might inspire someone more than you realize. Daniel Carter was only 9 years old, but life had carved deep lines of worry into his face. His mother, Emily Carter, once full of laughter and warmth, had been fading slowly under the weight of illness and unpaid bills. His father had died years ago in a factory accident, leaving behind nothing but memories and an old photograph Daniel carried folded in his pocket. Their apartment was a single dim room above an abandoned shop, where the ceiling leaked when it rained and the electricity disappeared more often than it stayed. Some nights, dinner was just water and sleep, and some mornings, hope felt heavier than hunger. On this particular morning, Emily had not eaten for 2 days, pretending she was full so her son could have the last piece of bread. Daniel knew the truth, and that truth pushed him out into the streets with a courage born of desperation. The bakery was already closing its morning rush when Daniel stood near the back door, watching workers toss plastic bags into a bin. The smell of bread, warm and cruelly inviting, wrapped around him. He waited until no one was looking, then stepped forward, carefully pulling out a small bag with a few loaves marked expired. To him, expiration dates meant nothing. Hunger did not understand labels. His hands shook as he clutched the bread, already planning how he would soften it with water so his mother could swallow it without pain. That was when fate slowed its pace. Across the street walked Jonathan Reed, a man whose name carried weight in boardrooms and headlines. He was the CEO of a global tech empire, a single father who had built success from nothing after losing his wife years ago. His life was measured in stock prices, meetings, and silence. His daughter lived with his parents in another city while he worked endlessly, convincing himself that providing financially was the same as being present. That morning, Jonathan was late for an important meeting, his phone buzzing with reminders and expectations. He walked fast, eyes fixed ahead, until something invisible tugged at him, a quiet force that made him slow down. Jonathan noticed the boy not because of noise, but because of stillness. There was something haunting about the way Daniel stood, clutching the bag as if it were treasure, his shoulders hunched against the world. The CEO's polished shoes stopped moving. For the first time in years, Jonathan Reed stopped walking. Memories he had buried rose without permission, memories of his own childhood when his mother skipped meals so he could eat, when kindness from strangers had meant survival. He watched Daniel carefully, noticing the hollow cheeks, the worn shoes, the eyes too old for such a young face. Daniel began walking away from the bakery, holding the bag tightly, but exhaustion betrayed him. He stumbled, the bread nearly falling to the ground, and in that fragile moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Jonathan crossed the street without thinking, his meeting forgotten, his phone silent in his pocket. He did not see a poor boy, he saw a reflection of a life he might have lived if luck had turned differently. The walk to Daniel's home was slow and heavy. The city changed as they moved, from shining towers to cracked sidewalks, from cafes to closed shops. Jonathan took in every detail, the way Daniel avoided puddles to keep the bread dry, the way he glanced back nervously as if afraid someone might take it away. When they reached the building, Jonathan understood how close poverty lived to invisibility. The stairs smelled of damp concrete, and the walls whispered stories of forgotten people. Inside the small room, Emily lay on a thin mattress, her face pale but her eyes still full of love when she saw her son. Shame washed over Jonathan as he realized how much excess filled his own life compared to this single room of struggle. Emily tried to sit up, embarrassed, apologetic for the state of their home, but weakness kept her still. Jonathan felt something break inside him, a wall he had built brick by brick to survive his own grief. In the days that followed, Jonathan Reed did something the world did not expect. He did not hand over money and walk away. He stayed. He arranged medical care for Emily, ensured Daniel returned to school with proper meals and books, and quietly paid off debts that had been crushing hope for years. But more than that, he visited. He listened. He learned names and stories. He brought his daughter to meet Daniel, watching two children from different worlds laugh together without understanding the distance between them. For the first time since his wife's death, Jonathan's home was filled with warmth again. The media eventually found out, as it always does, but Jonathan refused interviews. This was not a story for headlines, it was a reminder for himself. He began restructuring his company's values, creating programs to support struggling families, funding shelters, and investing in communities others ignored. Employees noticed a change in him. He smiled more. He rushed less. He listened. Daniel's life slowly transformed, not into luxury, but into stability. Emily recovered enough to work again, her laughter returning in small pieces. Daniel no longer searched trash bins, he searched bookshelves, his dreams growing larger than survival. Yet he never forgot that morning, the smell of bread, the weight of hunger, and the man who stopped walking. Years later, Daniel stood on a stage, graduating with honors, looking into a crowd where Jonathan Reed sat quietly, clapping with tears in his eyes. Success had many definitions, Daniel realized, but the truest one was being seen when you felt invisible. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that one moment of compassion can change an entire lifetime, please take a second to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive and reaching those who need them most. And before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. The world will keep rushing, people will keep walking, and hunger will still exist in quiet corners. But sometimes, all it takes is one person to stop, to look, and to care. And when that happens, expired bread can become the beginning of a future, and a single pause can turn into a lifetime of hope.